In this section, let's look at how do you deal with conflict question. Now, you might get this question in few different variations. They might ask, tell me about a time where you dealt with a conflict with a coworker, manager, or I've gotten, tell me about a time where you've handled a difficult situation. So the purpose behind this question is for them to understand how you will react to a difficult, unforeseen circumstance on the job. Conflicts and difficult situations are very common in all of the roles out there. So I'm going to walk you through a few of my recommendations whenever you're preparing for this question. Number one is to keep it positive. This isn't your chance to talk about a negative coworker or put someone down. Because that doesn't help with your character. Second thing would be to tell a story, because this is what they are looking for any time when they said, tell me about a time. My third tip here is to structure it. The worst thing you can do is ramble and get lost on the story that you're telling. I would keep it under 3 minutes, and my structure recommendation is SAR. It's a very popular tip out there from any of the experts if you look it up. What is the situation really? What action did you take, and what was the result? So most of your story here should be really focused on the action. So in the next part of this video, what I want to do is, for any situational question, I just want to give you a bit of a mindset that you can apply, and also around when you are in a conflict or really in differences with your coworker or just really anyone in your life, how do you actually deal with it? One of the best things that I've learned is not to take things personally. So when you are in conflict and we make it about us, then we get defensive, and that's when the conflict really doesn't go well. The second thing is I get curious. Why does this individual think the way they do? Why do they have this perspective? Which they are allowed to have, by the way, just like you're allowed to have your perspective, right? So I ask questions like, hey, why do you think that? Why do you believe this is the way to do it? I would really like to get your thought process behind this. So really coming from more of a genuine place of curiosity. Another way to ask is, what are your concerns if we tried it a different way? I learned this trick actually, or just this habit, from a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the habit that you're applying here is to seek to understand before being understood. When you really come from a place of wanting to understand that person, respect is automatically generated. And the next thing would be, when they do voice their concern, I would say really listen what they have to share and not just try to make your point. This is also going to help them be more open to you when you share your perspective. So whenever you're dealing with conflict or anything like that, the language and the way you communicate is everything. I might say something like, in the past, this has been my experience, and really give them an example when something you suggested and it actually worked. And I might frame it and say, you might be right in this situation, but I like to try this way and see what results we get. Would you be open to testing it out and seeing what happens with this method? And if it doesn't work, we gather some data, we'll go and do it your way. As a Scrum Master, whenever I was in this role, there was a lot of things that I wanted to experiment and see what will work. And I had team members and product owners tell me all the time, hey, we've tried that in the past, it doesn't work. So I really had to understand that using more of a win-win language made all the difference whenever there were conflicts. Conflicts are great. It will help you grow yourself. Imagine if everyone thought the same and agreed with everything that you said. What fun would that be, right? So when you take the taking personally out and really understand the person and their perspective, then you can come with a solution together, which you are part of the same team. End of the day, you're both adding value to the company. So it's not about you versus them. It's really both of you together versus the situation or the problem. And now you can put both of your heads together and come up with a win-win solution that's going to work out in both of your favor. Now, I get a lot of, what if I haven't had a conflict? And I used to think like that in the early stage of my career. First of all, let me tell you, I don't necessarily agree with that. Whether it's with a friend, family member, a spouse, just any indifferences in workplace, or even if you're just recently graduate, like with your classmate, I'm sure in college you've had a lot of indifferences. So you do, anytime when someone said something and you were like, oh no, I don't think that's a good idea, that's a conflict, my friend. So maybe you just didn't say anything about it. And the whole point of this question is like, how would you handle that?